Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.net. My name is Ross Benjamin. I'm your host, and usually there's two guests with me on Wednesday, but Sean Higgs had to attend to some personal matters, but lo and behold, Mr. Steady himself, Mr. Reliable himself, Mr. Jesse Schule is with us, and I'm glad to have him aboard. Just a friendly reminder, folks, give us a like on this video. It goes a long way in making our company that sponsors us happy and the owner happy, and it makes us happy. So, I mean, we're putting our best foot forward to bring you a quality podcast each and every day, times a week, and just a simple tap that like button. And Jesse will get to a more emphatic statement on that later on, as he always does. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. And while you're at it, go into your YouTube settings and click on that alert notification bell to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts weekly going up on our great channel here. Jesse, how are you, my man?
Not bad, Ross. Coming off of a pretty good day. I think we were 3-0 with the picks. We did have a play on Baltimore, but that game was suspended. But game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, entertaining. Yes. And I was happy to see it entertaining. And I guess the myths of the Boston Celtics superiority are fading a little bit. And here on this channel, we all thought it was going to be a competitive game and a competitive series, or maybe perhaps not game 1, but the series itself. And it certainly, game 1 was a lot more competitive than a lot of people thought, a lot of the experts as well.
Again, I hope you people, it's sinking in that I've mentioned time and time and again over the course of the last 3 weeks, nobody shares the ball better in the NBA and moves the ball better in the NBA than the Indiana Pacers. They're an absolute pleasure to watch offensively. And, if not for those couple of careless turnovers in the last 40 seconds of that game, Jesse, where they showed their youth a bit, and they showed their inexperience in these types of situations. They really should have came away with a win and deserved to come away with a win, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, I was happy to see Tyrese Halliburton making all those 3-point shots again. And I was shocked that Peyton Pritchard only got 8 points.
All in the first quarter. All in the first quarter. I said, Jesse's a lock. He had 8 points.
And he hit all his shots. I mean, he just didn't get enough. And he got his minutes. He made his shots. He just didn't get enough looks. But I'll tell you, I will be taking another look at that in the next game, just to letting you know.
Yeah, and that's the world of sports betting right there. Peyton Pritchard scored 8 points in the first 10 minutes of the game. Actually, 8 points in the first 4 minutes he played. He played 22 minutes in the game, and he didn't score the rest of the way. And like Jesse said, it's not like he was missing a ton of shots. He wasn't getting shots. And then if I'm correct, Jesse, I don't think he saw the court in the fourth quarter at all. So. Tough one there, but you cashed in on your other one as Tyrese Halliburton easily surpassed Jason Tatum in terms of 3-point makes. We were 3-1 with our free picks on the show yesterday. Sean had the Indiana Pacers plus the points, and I had the Boston Celtics to go over 115.5 to a team total. And boy, oh boy, Jess, it's like they got 94 after 3. And I needed that 3 by Jaylen Brown with 8 seconds to go to surpass that number. But you know what? A win is a win. And we cashed in. That's all that matters. All right. So let's get to today. We're going to be talking game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game will be played in Minnesota. Right now, as we speak, the Dallas Mavericks are a 4-point favorite. The total in this game is 207. Two teams that I guess you could say is a little bit of a surprise, the matchup in general. I wouldn't say, Jesse, it's a surprise that either one of these teams got here, but it is a bit of a surprise they both got here. You know what I'm saying? So if that makes sense at all. But in any event, Jesse, I'm sure you got some props you could share with the audience or any other thoughts you have going into this series.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last night the Eastern Conference Finals are going to be all about offense, apparently, and we could see the antithesis here in the Western Conference Finals could be all about defense. Of course, the Timberwolves, the number one defense in the NBA during the regular season, they're holding opponents under 100 points per game in the postseason, and Dallas also one of the better defensive teams in the postseason. And then you got Luka, who that's the big question mark heading into this series is how healthy is Luka? We're going to learn a lot about that in game one, I think. So I'm personally sitting on the fence as far as betting the side for game one, just because I want to see what Luka looks like and see if he's still hobbling around like he was against Oklahoma City and in the later stages of the series against the Clippers. Pretty amazing that they managed to get past the number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder with Luka only averaging 27 points per game. I'm expecting low scores here, but let's get into the player props. I'm looking at a guy by the name of Daniel Gafford, who is the starting center for the Dallas Mavericks. And I've talked about it on this channel and on other shows I've been doing as of late. It looks like Derek Lively Jr. II is stealing minutes from the starting center, Daniel Gafford. And I did give out a play. I'm not sure where. It might have been on Twitter, it might have been somewhere else, on Derek Lively in Game 6 of the last series. And I said that I posed the question, is there a new starting center in Dallas? And in that game, he played 30 minutes, and the starting center played only 19 minutes. And he did get his points, Lively. He had, what did he have? He had 11 points and 10 rebounds in that game. And he averaged 10 points and 8 rebounds in the series, 25 minutes a game, whereas Gafford's minutes were down and he only averaged 7 points and 7 rebounds a game in the series. So I think that Derek Lively, he's a 7-footer, and it was a favorable matchup for him against the smaller front court of Oklahoma City. But his number hasn't moved. So his points and rebounds total is still sitting at 13.5. And despite it being a tougher matchup, I just think the increase in minutes is going to work in his favor. And the number being low, I don't think it's that hard to get there. And I think one of the reasons why he's stealing minutes from Gafford, the starter, is because Gafford only shot 55% from the free throw line in the last series, and that cost Dallas at times, whereas Lively is more of a 67% shooter from the free throw line, which isn't great either, but significantly better, and that might keep him in the game for more minutes. So Derek Lively Jr. over 13.5 points and rebounds. That was rather long-winded. The next one is going
Derek
to be
Lively
short.
Jr. now it is, not the second, Junior. We're going with Junior instead of the second.
What's the difference between Junior and the second?
I don't know. It depends on the family. For whatever reason, they don't like to call somebody Junior. You got to respect that. We're going to call him Derek Lively the second, like you started out last week calling him. Now all of a sudden you switch to Junior. It's
well,
okay.
Actually, Ross, it was you that said you that called him Derek Lively Jr. the second.
No, I called Sean Higgs that. I called Sean Higgs Derek or Sean Higgs the second Junior. That's what I called him. It was Sean Higgs, not Derek Lively. I got respect for Derek Lively. Sean Higgs is another story. No, I'm only kidding. I love Sean.
Ross, maybe when you're 7 feet tall, they can't call you Junior. Maybe that's why they call him the second.
Well, that would make sense to me. Just one quick question on this pick. And it's not like I'm doubting you whatsoever because you've been doing phenomenal with these props. And is it concern you when you make a pick like this with a big man with Dallas when he was productive against a much smaller front line of Oklahoma City in the last series? Now he's facing a monster front line with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in this series against Minnesota.
That absolutely concerns me, Ross. And but I couldn't talk myself out of it for the following reasons. I think he's going to get open looks because I think those monsters are going to be so concerned with Luka, they're apt to actually drop him. And if you got to pick your poison, who are they going to focus? Who are they going to concentrate on? And if they leave Derek Lively open, and he's the guy that burns them, I think Minnesota can live with that. So I would expect him to get a couple points based on the fact that they're doubling Luka. And I acknowledge it is a much tougher matchup, but they didn't. He was going way over that number of 13 and a half in the last
Yeah.
series, and they haven't moved it up because of that, because it's a tough matchup. So that's why I'm sticking with it.
I like more so that you mentioned that he's stealing minutes from Gafford right now, and you anticipate that to continue in this series. So when you have increased minutes like he's going to be getting, and similar to what he got at least at the end of the last series, 13 and a half points and rebounds is not a monster number to surpass based on what he's been doing so far. And you make a great point with Doncic. Bottom line is not only do they have to double him, but how many times do you see big men have to come over and help when he penetrates, and that he's adept at dropping the ball off for an easy basket to his big men. So it's another situation. Great point, I should say, more than anything else. Okay, Jesse, you have one more for us.
Yeah, I'm going to look at Luka Doncic and Anthony Edwards, and this is actually not just for Game 1, but for the series itself. And I found this bet interesting. It's a plus. It's actually pulling a page out of Sean Higgs' book, because
Oh boy.
this to me sort of looks like a coin flip, a 50-50 shot, but they're giving me plus 140, and Sean Higgs will bet you all day long if you give him plus 40 on a coin flip. That's right in his wheelhouse. I mean, Luka's the better three-point shooter. There's no question about that. When healthy, it's no contest. But the fact of the matter is, coming into this series, Luka's only shooting 30% from beyond the arc in these playoffs, and there's still that question mark about his health. And it's not a favorable matchup for Luka either. Like you said, these dominant big men, a tough defense, and the Minnesota Timberwolves will be the favorite in the series. They do have home court advantage, and Anthony Edwards is having himself a pretty impressive playoff campaign. He's shooting 40% from beyond the arc. If you look at the made threes between the two of them, Luka's made one more three-pointer, 34 made threes. Anthony Edwards, 33 made threes. Luka's played one more game, so that means Edwards is averaging more per game. He was not great in Game 7 in Denver, going 2 of 10, but I like to see that he's getting the 10 attempts. And I think, like I say, I think this is roughly a coin flip, and they're giving me plus 140. We'll see how it pans out. But if Luka is not 100%, Edwards has a great chance to get more made threes in this series.
Yeah, and I think if he was even close to 100%, based on Anthony Edwards' numbers in the postseason and how good Minnesota is, I mean, again, I don't know how much the big men affect Luka Doncic when it comes to three-point shooting, but I know this, that Minnesota overall defensively is very good, perimeter and in the interior. And, you mentioned Luka Doncic and the concern regarding his health. And we're going to be able to tell a lot here, Jesse, because he's coming off a few days of rest now, as opposed to having to go every other day. And I can't imagine that they pressed him hard in practice sessions, in between. And he's getting more rehab now. And we'll see, because if he comes and looks like he has to our naked eye on occasion to be not 100%, then that spells trouble for Dallas for me in this series. So we'll see what happens tonight. The thing about this whole situation with his health, though, Jesse, is we discussed this at length before. He seems like he's lame one game, and it's obvious to both of us with our eye tests. And then the next game, he comes up with a monster game and said, okay, maybe he's coming around. And then there's a lot of inconsistency that I've seen throughout the first two series when it comes to determining, is this guy healthy or not? Is he close to 100% or not? Agree?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I want to sit on the fence for tonight's Game 1. I agree. I think that's what I'm going to have my eye on, is how does Luka perform? And, I wouldn't want to fade him in this game in particular, because after the layover, he might come out firing at 100%, and that would be great news for Dallas Maverick fans. But we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, I don't mean to get off topic, but I'm interested on your thoughts here. I look at the box score to Boston, Indiana yesterday, and Al Horford had 12 3-point attempts. I think Indiana likes their chances if Al Horford's putting up 12 threes, especially he's not hitting them at a high rate. Now, he hit a couple in the last quarter, okay, in the fourth quarter, in that crucial fourth quarter for Boston. But, it's almost like they're daring him to shoot, and he's taking the dare. And he went, I think, 3 for 12 from the 3-point line yesterday. So prior to those two makes in the fourth quarter, he was absolutely miserable. And I think that Indiana would take those kind of numbers the entire series. And you would think that Boston makes a little bit of adjustment there. I don't know how you tell a guy to stop taking open threes, but I certainly think that might be something they want to address, meaning the Celtics.
Well, you look at Peyton Pritchard's shooting percentage this season and throughout his career, and maybe he should be the guy taking those open threes. It shocks me that such a good shooter was only limited to 5 shots in that game. And like I said, the final 2 games of the regular season, when they sat the starters, this guy went off for back-to-back 30-point-plus games. I mean, clearly he's not the athlete that a lot of those other starters are, but I think they got to find a way to get a shooter like that involved.
I'd be interested in looking at his plus-minus when he was in the game. That's something that just came to my mind because he played 22 minutes, and I'm wondering why he wasn't in there in the fourth quarter for any kind of minutes.
Well, Ross, let me ask you this. The worse his plus-minus is, doesn't that indicate that he should be shooting more? Because if he's not in there to shoot, if his plus-minus is poor, then certainly you want him doing what he does well. If he's doing everything else wrong. 2
things. They made an adjustment after he scored those quick 8 points and took him out of the game. And the other part of the equation is he's a liability defensively, possibly, if he's a minus. And that may be a reason why we didn't see him the entire fourth quarter. I don't know what his plus minus was. I'm just taking an educated guess, Jesse, that may have something to do with it. But yes, you would think that he needs more 3-point shot. I mean, the bottom line is if you're not getting open looks, you're not getting open looks, though. It's not like when he was in there after that 8-point surge that I noticed that or you may have noticed, maybe I didn't, that he was passing up open 3-point shots. So that
his
would
plus minus was minus 15, the worst of any player in the game.
Well, there you go. All right. So let's get on to our, and that's probably a good reason why he didn't see a lot of action in the second half. They deemed him to be a liability defensively, and it wasn't a good matchup for them defensively with him in the game. All right. I'm going to look at the Dallas-Minnesota game, but I'm going to look at it from a different angle. I'm going to look at the total in this game in the first half. And, the total in the game is 207. Yet the first half total is 106.5. Jesse, we could look at this 2 ways. That the odds makers are telling us they expect a high-scoring first half and a low-scoring second half because this far exceeds the 50% of the entire total for the game. However, I'm looking at it a little bit differently here. The first half total is 106.5. Minnesota has played 6-1 to the under in their last 7 first halves. So their last 7 games, they've gone under the first half total 6 times. The average total in those 6 games, 103.7, lower than what we're seeing tonight. In Minnesota games over the last 7, there's been a combined 96.3 points per game scored in the first half. Minnesota's real good defensively, but they've also scored 49 points or fewer in 6 of their last 8 games in the first half. Minnesota's off a Game 7 98-90 win at Denver. And this year, when playing at home after a game in which they held an opponent to 95 points or less, like they did in their previous game, they played 9-1 to the under in the first half in those games. and they allowed 95 or less on each occasion. Or excuse me, that's again 9-1 to the under in the first half in games at home this year, following a game that they allowed 95 or less in their previous contest. So again, that speaks volumes to how they start out games in the first half and how good they are defensively. Dallas, 54 points or less in the first half in 10 of 12 playoff games. Now, I mean, again, if you're struggling to score in the first half in 10 of your first 12 playoff games, and now you're facing the best defensive team statistically in the NBA, and you got to think this is going to be somewhat of a feeling out process in game one. And they've gone 8-4 to the under in the first half during those contests. So 12 playoff games, 8 unders, 4 overs in the first half. Dallas has played 4-1 to the under in their last 5 on the road in the first half. Head-to-head series, the last 3 years, 2022, 2021, 22, 2022, 23, 2023, 24. 6 meetings between these clubs in Minnesota, 5 of those meetings under the total. And like I said, I really think in a series like this, we mentioned how good Minnesota is defensively. And Jesse, you mentioned how good Dallas was defensively. And I think Dallas might have been just as good defensively in the last quarter of the regular season. And that hasn't really shown in the playoffs as much as it did during the last quarter of the regular season. But I think matchups have a lot to do with it. And I think this is a good matchup for them. And this, to me, shapes up to be a low-scoring type of series. Albeit, the reason why I didn't go under for the game, Jesse, is my database tells me game ones, after a team plays a game 7 like Minnesota did, they usually go over the total. And that was the case with Indiana last night. The high percentage of those games go over the total. That's why I stayed away from that. But I am going to go under the total of 106.5 in the first half here.
Yeah, well, the first half can't go to overtime, right? So that's another bonus. Yeah, I mean, I think this is another reason why it's going to be interesting to see how healthy Luka Doncic is, because if he's playing the same way he did in the last series and deferring to guys like PJ Washington contribute more, I'm not going to say carry the offense, but contribute more. Certainly, it bodes well for the under if you've got PJ Washington taking a boatload of shots compared to Luka Doncic. Yeah, I mean, Dallas certainly proved they can play strong defense. You look at the last series, I think only 2 of the 7 games went over this number. And in those games, Denver had to shoot out the lights. I was expecting regression for Denver because they shot 54, 55, and 57% during that 3-game stretch when they won 3 games in a row. And yeah, they regressed. They certainly regressed.
Yeah, they certainly did. Although Indiana, as we discussed yesterday, did not regress in terms of their shooting.
Well, they did, because they went from 67.1 to 55, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, okay. If you want to call that a regression, I would say, when you go 53% and 67% your prior 2 games, a regression would be somewhere in the area of 48%. You know what I mean? But if they continue to shoot like that, there's no reason why they can't stay in the series.
And that is who they are, right? That's just who they are as a team.
I mean, again, I'm not picking Indiana to win the series. That's not what I'm implying. It would not shock me at this point. And the reason I say that, folks, is I've been watching this team closely for over the last 6 weeks, and I can't emphasize enough. They put a lot of pressure on you offensively because of the way they move the ball. The ball just doesn't stick. And what do I mean by that? You'll see at times like guys like Jason Tatum, James Harden, Luka Doncic, they hold the ball and stare down the defender for 5 or 6 seconds, it seems like. Then they try to make a move, and now they've taken 12 seconds off the shot clock, winding it down. They don't have a quality shot, and they pass it off to somebody else who probably isn't going to have a quality shot as well. So the ball just doesn't stick. the closest it comes to sticking with Indiana is with TJ McConnell, who at times will hold the ball for 6-7 seconds. The difference being he does not give up his dribble when he does that. He's either looking for a shot or he's looking to dish off. There's a big difference than just standing there and eyeing down a defender and not moving and fake stepping here right, fake stepping left. Nothing drives me more crazy when I see players in the NBA do that. In any event, there you have it, Jesse. 2 prop plays, and I would take notice of his props, folks, because he's knocking them dead. Anthony Edwards to make more 3-pointers tonight than Luka Doncic.
Not tonight, Ross, in the series.
In the series. Okay. This is a series play. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was tonight. I'm glad that you brought that up because I thought it was a little bit off that it would be plus 140 for tonight. So Anthony Edwards, that shows you how many props I make, folks. Anthony Edwards for the series to make more 3-pointers than Luka Doncic, and that's their money line odds of plus 140. And then for the game tonight, let's be clear, Derek Lively the second to go over 13.5 combined points and rebounds. So that's Jesse's 2 plays as props. And I'm also going to go with the Dallas and Minnesota game. First half total of 106.5 to go under that number. All right, Jesse, tell the folks a little bit about what you might have coming up. I know you're coming off a nice 3-0 day. And what else is going on at gamblersworld.net that the folks could hone in on?
Well, I got a baseball play, and I've got a play on tonight's game 1, both posted and available at Gamblers World. And CFL kicks off in just a few days now, Ross, and I'm very excited about football north of the border, 60% against the spread for the last decade. And I know people kind of shake their head when I give them 10-year winning streaks, but I got to say, perhaps the only people that are impressed by 10-year winning streaks are other handicappers because they're the guys that know how hard it is to win for 10 years with anything. 5 straight winning seasons in the CFL. I do pick my spots. I don't bet every game every week. I try to get 1 game a week in there, the best one. And it breaks up the baseball, breaks up the boredom in the summer. Nice to have some soccer and some CFL. And I look forward to that. I think June 5th it starts.
There you go. So, and also, I like to incorporate free throws attempts and free throw percentages when it comes to my basketball totals, which a lot of people ignore. Jesse likes to incorporate the rouges. Canadian football. Does anybody out there know what a rouge is other than Jesse and me? A rouge? Explain that to him, Jesse.
It's a missed field goal that isn't returned out of the end zone.
Or a
so
punt.
Or a punt, yeah. If you anytime the ball is kicked into the end zone, if you don't run the ball out of the end zone, then the other team gets a point. And games can be won. So if it's a tie game and you're setting up for the winning field goal, all you got to do is kick it out of the end zone, and you get a single point. And you win.
Yeah, I wish the Buffalo Bills had that in place when they faced Denver City in the AFC divisional round because that missed field goal not returned would have got a point instead of not getting anything, and would have made a difference, I guess. Anyway, you could find me at gamblersworld.net as well, and like Jesse and like the other 8 handicappers there, we guarantee our selections. That simply means, folks, that if we don't win, we don't make a profit on any single game or multi-game daily package or any subscription plan of 30 days or fewer. We will credit back your account the exact amount of your purchase price. Starting to heat up a little bit in baseball. 2-0 last night. I had let's see here. I had the Texas Rangers and Philadelphia Phillies game to go under 4.5 in the first 5 innings. And it was 2-1 after 5. And I also had the Chicago Cubs plus 104 on the money line over the Atlanta Braves. NBA lost last night with the Boston Celtics. Little bit of a funk over the last 4 or 5 days in the NBA. Not terrible, but a lot of back and forth. But still, tremendous record in the NBA playoffs. 112-65 since 2022. That's good for 63%, folks. And I will have a 5-unit top play winning side in tonight's game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's the highest rated play. And I am going to have that right there at gamblesworld.net, and that pick will be guaranteed. And you can get it for $49 and cash in, folks. Take advantage of that offer. Jesse, there's a like button right underneath.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. It's a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put in to bring you a quality podcast each and every day, and also to make you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. Until the next time, Jesse will be back with me on Friday on our live show with Sean Higgs, and I'll be back tomorrow with Doug Upstone and Chip Chirimbus. We'll be discussing more NBA playoff action. Until then, take care and God bless, folks.